Welcome to
Chick.
and Dude.
Stuff.
It's a long joke because for the first couple of podcasts, I said chicken dude and stuff. And she would look at me and go, it's not and stuff, it's just stuff. And I was like, what's the difference? Well, there's a difference. So now I have to do this. So it is what it is.
Matt and Buffy Payne are a couple driven by purpose. Through their nonprofit Outer Circle Foundation and faith-based organizations like Few and Dudes, their mission is clear: to spark positive change, empower others, and build a better world, one connection at a time. She is Chick. He is Dude. Welcome to the Chicken Dude Stuff podcast.
How are you, man?
Doing good.
All right, so today we are here with the esteemed Todd Masters, who we have known for the last 3 years. I think you came to like our second golf outing that we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
2 golf outings ago. Yep.
Yep. And Todd has FocalPoint coaching. So thanks so much for coming on with us and chatting with us today.
Love it. Love being here. Love being with you too.
So
Let him introduce himself.
yeah. So tell everybody your kind of your client base, what you do, and let's start there.
Perfect. Yeah. So Todd Masters, I'm certified business and executive coach. And really the purpose of what my coaching does, I like to say I'm a small business growth coach, but really I'm a profit coach. My goal and my passion is to help small businesses, thrive and succeed. Part of it is helping small businesses grow to scale and then scale to sell. So we hit businesses kind of where they're at in their life cycle. But my ideal clients, we've done a lot with the home services, so electricians, plumbers, and HVAC. My family businesses, I have a lot of families, uncles and aunts that have electrician companies, plumber companies. My grandfather started an electrical wholesale company back in the 50s that's still run by the family. So family businesses, mom and pop stores and Main Street are near and dear to my heart, because I know the impact and the influence that these small businesses have on Main Street, on the families, on local communities. And after a brief stint in the Air Force and then in corporate executive sales and marketing, I opened this practice here in Atlanta to really help the small business on Main Street.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting because we get asked a lot about career paths and career trajectory and things like that. And I think we both have started more recently, kind of, is corporate the right place for you, or is a trade? Because there are so many trades and skills that will pay as much, if not more, than what you would gain in corporate industry. But you could have your own shop. You can do a whole bunch of different things. So the trades are such a big critical skill right now with what's going on, out in society today.
It is. It's a tremendous opportunity, and we're actually seeing a lot of Gen Z come in and look at the trades. They're skeptical about college. They grew up in an era where college is so expensive. Mm-hmm. The value of an education is questionable now. There's no guaranteed job. In the marketplace, they like a lot of different things that corporate America doesn't provide. Transparency, integrity, ethics, and things like that. So if they're able to create their own business, they can create their own world and be flexible in the things that they like to seek that may not be available in the corporate world. So we see a lot of that. We also see, a lot of the current trades and small businesses are owned and run by, the baby boomer generation. And they're, if not retired yet, heading out the door pretty quick. And they're looking to sell their businesses and transition it to that next generation. And there's a huge gap between how the current, I'd say, boomer and probably Gen X generation runs small businesses to how, Gen Z or later are going to run it. So when we see grandpa or dad trying to hand off the business to, sons and daughters, there's a big generational gap in how businesses are run, which is where coaching, does help out in that transition of that succession plan. But it is a tremendous opportunity to generate within a few years, $1 million business that pays more than corporate. Now, it's a lot harder running a business. There's a lot more moving parts, but it's not impossible. And it's becoming a lot more lucrative these days.
So let's back up. Where did you grow up? What was it like being a kid? Were you a military brat?
Yeah.
What, fill in everybody.
Yeah, that's great. So I mainly I'm from Kansas City. So that's where my family's from. So I grew up in Kansas City my whole life. Have a family with a lot of aunts and uncles, a pretty good sized family that are almost all entrepreneurs. So like I said, my grandpa started a company called Bernie Electric Wholesale on the electric side. And I have uncles that are extremely talented and good at their hands with all things. So I grew up, first job was stocking shelves in the wholesale company of learning all the electrical parts and spooling cable and all those things. I worked for one of my uncles doing HVAC repair, working on roofs, ran, electrical cable. I was the small one that got the attic job to run cable up through attics and crawl spaces and all the dirty stuff they didn't want to do. So I learned a lot of great skills, as a kid. Started working, at the age of 13 and, like a lot, just haven't stopped working since then. Worked hard in school, did good in grades, was, good in athletics. I got a scholarship from the military for that to have an Air Force ROTC scholarship to study electrical engineering. So I went to the University of Kansas and did ROTC and served in the Air Force Reserves through that piece of it. After the Air Force and after college, then wanted to work this high-powered degree that I got as an engineer. And so I worked as an engineer for about a year. Then I figured out if you want to make decent money, you have to go into sales and marketing. So got my master's in business and switched over from a technical role in project management. Did a lot in project management and building installation specifications, which I love to do. My heart and my true gift, I think, is really in process and systems and putting things in pieces from A to Z and making things work. The engineering background and that piece of it. So I did love that job. But I also love the sales and marketing of how do we take something really technical or complicated or big and make it of value to people to purchase and then get the outcome and desired results that we want. So I had a great career, a lot of, blessings working for companies that were 100,000 employees or more down to 10 employees, from a very small business to very large businesses with, budgets from, billions of dollars to, thousands of dollars and really appreciated that. My sales career, I've sold over, $2.5 billion worth of sales. So I've had large deals, in the $1 billion range to, smaller deals on that piece of it. So really understand the sales life cycle. Ran and managed sales teams and trained them as well as marketing. And I really, in my career, when I was looking at transitioning, you ask yourself, what do you like most about what you do? And the thing that I liked most of what I did was, corporate strategy on that part of it of what's our go-to-market strategy and how we're going to take this company to the next level. But I also love the mentoring and training of sales reps and bringing on new sales executives and watching people, launch their careers, get some training, get some skills, get some success, and, climb up and exceed in what they do. That's something that I think I'm a naturally gifted teacher, so I do love to teach and instruct. And so that kind of naturally folded into a coaching practice.
And, I think that small business kind of has that perception of, I'm not big enough to need a Todd, or I'm not there yet. And I kind of disagree with that. And what's your thought around that? Like, when is the right time for somebody to come to you?
Yeah, I think the secret to any business and any executive's career is having mentorship, whether it's through a coaching where you pay a coach to come in, but everybody has a mentor right now, one way or the other. If not, they're doing things wrong, right? Yeah. You don't want to just go out and try to figure things out on your own. So mentorship's always been out there. Coaching's kind of been a secret, I think, for a long time of the most successful companies, had coaches or had mentors or had advisors on that. You look at board advisors on what they do, they provide some guidance, but coaching is taking that guidance, but then also giving practical templates done for you, best practices, and then the accountability of, hey, I'm going to walk with you as we accomplish this to get it out. So every size of business, whether you're starting out and bootstrapping as a new entrepreneur, there are a lot of resources. I offer resources at no cost for some of those entrepreneurs. Small Business Association has a lot of different programs and pieces like that, but it's not going to get you results as fast as acquiring a coach and retaining a coach for services. That's going to get you there faster. The ideal client that I like to work with, is one that has a little traction and has some employees. Because that's what I have. Most of our collateral, our tools, my toolbox is full of. Let's take your business that ideally is around $1 million or close to $1 million. Let's hit that $1 million mark. Now let's set a goal to hit the next $2 million mark, and then 5 million, 10 million, and scale it up on that piece of it. That's my sweet spot of where I make the biggest impact. But I also help out the entrepreneurs that are just starting. I'm involved with 2 different organizations that we provide mentorship for entrepreneurs that are looking to get investors. So, the Access Foundation of Georgia, we help out with and build pitch decks, coach, a few times to help people, entrepreneurs build their dream, get it on paper and get it in front of investors to get money for their business. All the way to the tail end where we've got that boomer, that business owner that's looking to go ahead and pass on that business or sell out and cash out to a third party or an equity partner, and fund their retirement to build them a succession plan and make sure they get the most value for their money. So it's really fun to see people at the very beginning of that little flicker of a dream in their eye to the very end of, I've built something really good, I'm really proud of, and now it's time to pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah. So Todd, right before we started talking, we were talking about your daughter that's in college. What if she came to you tomorrow and said, Dad, I want to start my own business? How would you coach her?
We've talked about that. I talk about that with all my kids to give them an option of starting a business. The first thing that I always say is why? Why would you want to do that? Because if you don't have a good reason for starting your own business, it's hard. It's a lot of hard work, especially those first few years. And if you don't have a good why, do you want to do this? Then it's going to get hard and you'll phase out pretty quick. So the first thing is, well, tell me why would you want to do that? Why would you want to put yourself through that? And if they have a good answer of, hey, I want the flexibility, I want to control my destiny, I want to be in charge of that. That's a good start and a good reason why a lot of people do. If it's just to make a lot of money, that's not always a great answer, because at first you're going to lose a lot of money to put into a business. It's going to drain all of your funds. You're going to be looking for investors, and money's going to be top of mind for those first few years, and it'll be thin. Unless you're lucky and out of the gate, hit something really, really good and going on that part of it. But if it's more of a dream or desire, or you want to make an impact on your community, some bigger thing than just money, then I say go for it, right? And we put together a plan and figure it out.
Yeah. I've been working with a couple of different organizations, consulting with them, helping them be realized in the marketplace. And I find that it's probably one of the most challenging pieces is bringing brand awareness to a new company. No matter how good the product or service they have, people just don't know the brand yet. How would you coach or advise someone that's really trying to get brand awareness out there?
It's a great question. In college, I bought my first business. I bought a franchise called College Pro Painting. So my sophomore year in college, I owned a business, a painting business, house painting, and they walk you through it in building a business on that piece of it. I ended up having 4 crews that I ran through the summer, and 2 through the fall and winter. I kept the business going year round, and made a lot of money as a kid. But having no idea how to run a business, that helped out a lot. And I look back now, I had so much business that I was booked, almost the whole summer. I ended up filling up my crews and then subbing out as much work to subcontractors as I did. And I was good at sales. That's why I ended up kind of going into sales. But for brand awareness, we had the yellow pages. So you put an ad in there and, you put the number 1 or an A in front of what you did to put your business at the top of painters, little hacks like that. I had a pager. I had door knockers. So when you paint a house, I'd see kids, back then they would be outside playing all the time and not inside on phones. I'd say, hey kid, come over here. I'd say, you want to make $5? And I'd give them a stack of door hangers to go hang a little door hanger on every door in the neighborhood. On that piece of it, we had yard signs, call an 800 number. It'd go to a dispatch center that would page me with a lead. I'd just, go and do an estimate. Easy. There was no Google. There was no algorithms. There was no paid ads. There was no social media. There was no all this stuff that we have to do now to get the brand awareness out. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And that is the number one problem that all small businesses share and face, is how to overcome obscurity, how to get your name out there. So different businesses will have a different marketing strategy of what tools should be in place. I mean, certainly now there's a few minimum requirements. A web page, people now, the new, obviously yellow pages, people go to a web page first, and Google. So a Google business page and a web page are essential. The Google business profile first, launch that, because people will be searching for Google and looking at reviews. Second, have a good web page that has all the right components. Landing pages that can do those things. Those are essential requirements. Mobile phones and texting, some of the tech stack on those pieces of it. But honestly, the number one thing that we start with our clients is to let people know in your sphere of influence of who you already know. Tell them what you're doing and how to get a hold of you and how to contact you. So, reach out to all of if you're just starting a business, piece together everybody that you've worked with in the past, that you're connected on LinkedIn, friends and family, and generate the list, right? Everybody knows by now, whether directly that you talk to every day or indirectly, around 1,000 people, at least, right? You have 1,000 people kind of in your rough sphere of influence. Piece together a little promo for them. Say, hey, hey, this is Todd. We haven't talked in a while, or hey, I want to let you know get you up to speed with what's going on with me. I just launched FocalPoint business coaching of Atlanta. I'm looking for businesses that are doing around $1 million a year in annual revenue and like to optimize their business and clockwork it so they can have a business that runs by itself, so they can enjoy being a business owner and take a vacation and maximize their profits. If you know of any small businesses out there, business owners that you could introduce me to, I would love that. What I'm offering is a free breakthrough session that we can hop on a call in 90 minutes, give them some clarity and a breakthrough blueprint on how to take their business to the next level at no cost. And they can get there by going to my website at toddmasters.coach. Happy to answer any questions or get in touch. This is how you get a hold of me. And again, thank you so much for introducing me to your friends. You send that out to 1,000 people, they're going to know somebody, and then start coming and talking to you. And aside from the marketing and all that paid stuff, do that first, because that's free and that gets your word out. Obviously on LinkedIn, or where people might want to search, okay, well, toddmasters.coach, Todd Masters, let me go to LinkedIn and find him there. Let me go to his website and see what this is all about. Because people like to do research before they like to make contact. So that's the first thing that we do before we talk about paid ads and social media and all that other stuff. Let's just talk about, what you do to who you know first.
Yeah, that's good. Because I know, just for Matt and I, when we reach our office in the morning, we could spend the first 3 hours of our day between reading and responding to emails, updating all the social media platforms, updating both of the apps that our organizations have, and then we're more than a third through our day. And it's a lot.
It is. Yeah. The feeding the machine is time consuming and costly. And that's the biggest problem charities, small businesses, entrepreneurs face is that they have to wear all the hats at first. And, part of that clarity question of what kind of, why do you want to be in business? And then what kind of business do you want to run? One where you do all the work, or one where you can build it where other people do work for you. It's either being an owner operator or a business owner. We say your business can own you, or you can own your business. And when it comes to feeding the machine, I always recommend to outsource that. Find VAs to do that, find other people to do that for you. There's a lot of cost-effective options because your day can be sucked away so fast on, urgent tasks, but unimportant tasks. And part of what we coach and teach is how to prioritize your day and your tasks into, Eisenhower Matrix and GOSPA and some other tools that we teach on, what's highly urgent and highly important that needs to be done for the business. And what's less important that maybe I should delegate, or outtask to somebody else to do on that piece of it. And, we're young in the era of AI. It's the wild, wild west right now with AI. And there are so many tools that can automate everything that you can really go down a rat hole pretty fast, and it's always changing. But it's making social media and a lot of these tasks a lot easier and less time consuming. But coming up with a good AI strategy and how to incorporate that and weave that into your business structure is another thing that we've spent a lot of time on with our clients in building some specific functional AI tools for them and the AI tool suite that might be best for their business, to alleviate some of that burden for them. And I don't recommend to any of my business owners that they do social media themselves. I recommend they spend maybe 30 minutes a day in recording some things, videos of themselves to be, authentic and get that out there, and then pass that off to their team to slice and dice and package and send out.
We have found a lot of benefit in our local Chamber of Commerce. I know you are one of the founders in the Veteran Chamber of Commerce that's up your way, up in Northeast Georgia. Is that a good tool to have for a small business to come into the chamber?
Absolutely. And every local chamber, we're in the Metro Atlanta area. So there's every county has its chambers. And then there's specific chambers like the one that I'm on the board for, the Metro Atlanta Veterans Chamber of Commerce. There's the Airport Chamber of Commerce, that kind of supports all the businesses around the airport, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Gwinnett has it, Cobb County, Fulton County, all the counties will have a chamber. And you don't actually have to have a business in that county to be a member of that chamber. You can be, in this area, you could be a member of 10 different chambers of commerce. I would recommend picking one and being really active in the one that's closest to you. But absolutely, they have a lot of resources. I've taught courses for the chamber for some of them. And they have networking, meetups. It's the important thing for a business owner, an entrepreneur, is networking. You can't sit behind and just crank out social media. You have to actually build relationships, partnerships, friendships, alliances, joint ventures, mentorships. It's a lot of ships on that piece of it. Yeah, absolutely. The local chamber is a fantastic way to do it. And you find a chamber that has either your niche. Local chambers have all the businesses, but there's also specific action chambers in different areas. So you want to find a general chamber or a group of people like yourself, and then maybe something in your niche that may be more of an association that is part of whatever industry that you're in, and be a part of that as well. But yeah, local chambers are great. Not all chambers are built the same. So find one that fits you, and go from there.
Yeah. And then, we all talked about LinkedIn, but one of the new up and comings is Alignable there. And I think there's probably a couple of other ones out there. What are your thoughts on some of these kind of online networking tools? Have you had success with them? Is there some better than others? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the first thing when you're looking at how do I spend my time as a charity, a foundation, or a business, who are my customers? Who am I reaching out to? and where are they at? First, you understand your ideal client and build ideal client profile or an avatar, and then understand, where are the people that I want to hear my message going to be to hear it the best. And then you can find the platform that suits them. And those are two good ones. There's Facebook, is a big place where billions of people are at. Some of your consumers, if you're B2C, would be on Facebook. If you're B2B, LinkedIn. If you're more enterprise and corporate, LinkedIn's a place to be. Alignable's, place of a lot of, I'd say, entrepreneurs and smaller businesses on that piece of it. So the platform that you pick is the one where your customers are at on that piece of it. I like Alignable. It's kind of fun as far as, I'd say, a community of people like yourself. You can find your environments. I haven't found that it's really great to do business on. Some people have a lot of success finding, business on there. My clients, I'm looking at the business owners that are in the $1 million or more range, $1 million to $20 million annual revenue. They're not going to be on Alignable. It's going to be people just starting out because, Alignable is kind of free. I'll be more on LinkedIn and spend more time on LinkedIn for what I'm doing. And then also trades associations and other associations where I can, teach courses, come in and get some highlights and do things like that and provide value back into it. But I'd say no matter what community that you pick, whether it's Facebook, Alignable, LinkedIn, or dozens of others, the goal is to put value into those communities first. It's a put in to get out. So you want to add your value into there and provide your insights, your encouragement, your tools, your education, pump into that organization before you want to pull out of it. And I would say, of all the time that you can spend online and online things, I would recommend to spend time in a face-to-face networking group if you could first, like BNI, the Rotary, Toastmasters, other groups like that. As from the COVID era and as good as we all got to being online with people, nothing beats face-to-face and interpersonal relationships and communication. Sure, you can't reach 1,000 people automated, in a BNI, Business Network International, or other groups, but you'll probably get better results. And especially as you're growing and learning, being able to communicate your story more effective and things like that.
Yeah. And even though you're in the Atlanta metro area, you will consult with anyone regardless of where they are, right? I mean, I would imagine.
Yep.
From that standpoint.
Yeah. I have, we're actually transitioning. I have another partner coach, and we're doing a 90-day transformation program right now. Part of coaching that I didn't like, when I've had coaches in the past, is that it was very open-ended. Didn't quite know what you're going to get out of it, when it was going to end, and what the outcome would be. And a lot of businesses, don't have, a ton of money to invest, but they certainly have problems they have to overcome. And so we've put together, a 90-day program that in 90 days, if you follow our program, you'll be taught and have the tools, the foundation, the education, the templates, the format to transform your business from a sales perspective on getting cash, a profit perspective on keeping your cash, and then an order perspective or a systems and operation on how to automate, optimize your time and build the right organization that you want. And we do that in delivery in two ways. One-on-one coaching, which is going to be more local. You'll get faster, bigger results, one-on-one, face-to-face. That can be done virtually as well. Doesn't have to be on site. And then also group coaching on that piece of it. So both those formats, work well virtually, nationwide, where they want to go. I reserve a little bit of my time locally to operate as a fractional chief operational officer, chief revenue officer, where I go into an office or a business and dig in a little deeper. I can't do that for all my clients, but for some, if they really need that boost to hit that next big milestone, it's nice to be on site and do that kind of work. But our 90-day program is pretty much virtual and can work anywhere nationwide. And that gives businesses a really cost-effective way to make a massive transformation in their business. In 90 days, essentially walk away with a plan on how to double your business, and even walk away with a business that runs itself. And you can take a 4-week vacation in 12 months and not worry about the house falling down while you're away. In fact, the whole goal is that when you come back from vacation as a business owner, your business actually did better while you were away than while you were there.
Do you have I'm sure you have a million success stories. What are a couple that stand out, from your experience that you've had?
Yeah, I have both success stories and not success stories. Part of coaching, and maybe I'll start with some of the bad stuff of clients that attain and get coaching hoping for a quick fix. And part of our vetting of working with business owners is to find business owners that are motivated to really make a change in their business. Because if there's something that needs fixed, there is something that was wrong or not built, or they didn't know what to do or how to do things. So we're making adjustments and trying to fix some things, really. And if a business owner isn't motivated to actually put into place the plans or the concepts or the best practices, and have built a habit of being comfortable where they're at and getting those results that they know aren't great results and they want different results, but if they're not going to put in the time or effort to change and actually transform themselves, they're just going to continually get the same results, same action, same results. Just hiring a coach by itself isn't going to magically change things. But if you put into action what the coach says, and part of coaching is holding our clients accountable. And I've had a client that we built the framework, exactly all the steps, A to Z, do this. In the next week, in the session, I'd ask, so how are we doing on this? Did we get X, Y, and Z done? Did you delegate this over to so-and-so and use the delegation strategy and all the steps? No, I didn't quite get that done. I'm like, okay, well, what's holding us back? Tell me what's going on. Why is this not a good idea? No, it's a great idea. I love the idea. I think it's going to be awesome. Okay, well, let's dig deep and figure out what it is. And week after week of digging deep, it was just, they just didn't have the motivation to do those things. And their business didn't transform like we wanted to. Right. And that's painful as a coach, because we can't force, the results are the responsibility of the business owner. Right. As a coach, I can only hold them accountable and do so much. I'm not a consultant. I'm not an employee. I'm not somebody to come in and do the work for them. I'm somebody to push them to do that work. So unfortunately, I've had, a small percentage of clients that do that. Now I try to vet my clients to see if they're really motivated to do that on that piece of it. On the flip side, the good ones, I've had a client that started her business almost from scratch. Didn't have any clients, didn't have any customers, didn't have anything. And so we started with, why do you want to be in business? Here's the framework. Let's start with generating cash. So let's do the marketing framework, marketing strategy. Let's execute the marketing. Let's build the website, the landing pages, the copy, the hook, the pitch, the offer, the price points, the infrastructure to collect money, the delivery model of how do we deliver with excellence every time, and built that from scratch. And her first year was well over, about $200,000 in revenue, on path the next year to hit 500,000. And then in year 3, easily will clear the $1 million mark, so that's great. That was from a straight out of the gate entrepreneur. The other success story, is a business that, in the life cycle of businesses, we talk about a sigmoid curve when we talk about it, kind of startup learning mode, and then growth mode is where a business is positioned to grow a lot faster if they can get their systems in place that can scale, if they look at their staff and their employees and optimize their staff to have the right people in the right seats to do the right things. There's a place in every business where they have to really look at, do I have all the right tools and systems in place, and do I have the right people in place? And if not, then let's make some changes. And we have a lot of assessments to go through and analyze to see if we need to do that. So I've had a business where we went in and analyzed. We needed, a new website or an updated website. We needed some more optimized CRM or some tool to manage all the clients and those parts of it. And we don't have the right people that we can rely on to do the right things. And so we had to shift headcount and bring on new people or shift people around to different jobs. And I've got another company going through that too, but the one that we put through in the first time almost doubled their business in about 120 days after those shifts. And that's been a tremendous success story, is just getting sometimes the right pieces in place, tweaking and refreshing our message, looking at our client base and saying, hey, who are my top clients? And actually, who do I want to be my top customers going forward? And maybe getting rid of selling to everybody to now let's just focus on selling to this segment of my customer base, because I really like working with them. There's Mike Michalowicz and some others that wrote a book. He puts it by cringe or crush, right? Which customers do I cringe when I talk to, and which customers do I have a crush on? Let's focus on the ones that I love to talk to and sell to, and that makes a big difference too.
So, how do people get to you? Where do they find you?
Yeah, really easy. ToddMasters.coach on LinkedIn. Todd A. Masters on that piece of it. And what I like to do for clients is I like to provide value at first. I don't pitch or sell in initial conversations. I have a business breakthrough session where I've got enough analytical tools, and having a conversation, we'll find what your biggest constraint or obstacle is, and I'll give you tools to overcome that. Or if you want a blueprint to double or scale your business in 90 minutes, I've got templates and formats and structure. I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to give you a blueprint or a plan that's going to get you there and quickly. Or, if you have a bigger challenge, if your schedule is crazy and you have no time to take off, you're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, I may offer you or give you a mini challenge where we'll work together for 3 sessions at no cost to get time back. I call it the time back challenge, where I'm going to show you how to get time back 10 hours a week back into your schedule to do what you want to with it. Or I'm going to show you how to get 10 to 20% annual revenue growth in 3 sessions, guaranteed. I've got 10 ways to make 10% increase in annual revenue. We'll pick one of those. I'm going to work with you for 3 sessions until we figure out which one's best. The plan to do it, we're going to implement it and launch it, and you'll grow your business by 10%. And several other challenges. But yeah, toddmasters.coach, free session or a mini challenge, whatever you'd like to do for you to see what coaching can do for your business. And we'll take it from there.
Anything you haven't said that you think the world needs to know, Todd?
No, I think that's really about it. But, our passion is to make, business fun again. Because right now, business, there's so many business owners and foundations, charities, organizations that are struggling, right? They are overworked. And right now with AI and the tech cycles are just overwhelmed with all the things that are happening out there. The economy is uncertain. Some people look at that right now is not the best time to launch a business and do those things, but it's actually the best time because there's so many tools, and coaching's becoming more mainstream. It's more common to be able to find mentors and coaches and people to help you out there. That now's a great time, to really launch into it and see it. My last parting advice is don't do things alone. Just asking help and going to events, you're like you said, the chambers and other networking events, finding people to talk to will make a huge difference in your mental stress in running an organization or running a business. Don't do it alone. There are people out there that will help. It doesn't cost as much as you think it does. The outcome and end results, not even talking financially, but just the mental well-being, the impact that you can make in your local community or your local areas is tremendous at that level. So that's my only parting advice is don't do it alone. Reach out to a coach at first. If I can't help you, I know somebody who can. I know somebody that can fit within any budget of where you're at and whatever stage that you're at. Then I'll put you to the right resource. Maybe, honestly, I'd say half the people that I talk to aren't ready for coaching, or what they really need is a better accountant or maybe an attorney right now, or a digital marketer, right? So I'll send them to my referral network and say, why don't you go work, with this person for a while first, and after you get that done, then come back and let's see if you're ready, to take your business to that next level. That's important. You need advice like that. So that's it. Don't do it alone. There's great people like Matt and Buffy out there that have organizations that help people with the reboot, and helping military, veterans coming out of the military to transition in the corporate world. Don't do that alone. If you're struggling as a veteran, with PTSD and that's affecting your ability to work, reach out to Matt and Buffy, because they help veterans go through those transitions and those challenges. You all for sure know, not to go out and do it alone. That's why you two exist as well, right?
And what I can say in closing is that, Todd, we've been with you for 2.5, 3 years now, and I can tell you that you have helped us on so many different levels, from website to marketing to CRM to helping with Ideal, even though, our client base or those that we help are veterans and first responders, but how do we get message to them, and how do we really target, and how do we do the things that we have done to get us where we are today as the foundation that we are is, you have been such an integral part of that and such a huge piece. Thank you so much. We don't get to say it very often, but if you want a great coach, you want somebody who's going to be there and who's going to invest time in you. Todd is that guy. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege working with you two as well.
As Todd mentioned, if you are a veteran or first responder and you're struggling with PTSD, any type of mental health issue, or you're looking to transition, hit up our website, www.outercirclefoundation.org. You can also get us at chickendudestuff.com, and all of our stuff is there. So thanks so much, Todd. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll check back in with you soon.